Hey you guys, welcome back to another episode of Smiley Said It. I want to talk about people that get upset when you finally talk about your side of the story. It's such a shame where a lot of people experience traumatic life scenarios, and it takes a lot of bravery to talk about horrible things that are done to you, whether it's assault of any kind, any form of violation. And you finally have the courage to come out and talk about it, whether it's directly to someone you trust or you just putting it out there in the opening. And then the person that caused you harm, they come out and say that's not true or tell the full story or why are you lying or any of that. You sit back and you recount exactly what was done to you and the role that that person played in, the part of making you feel like trash. What I have to say to people like that is, first of all, you should have played a better character in that person's story. You should have been a better person, even if it was a horrible time in your life where you took it out on that person and you didn't know how to like navigate in society, where you knew how to treat people or treat that person correctly. The moment you acknowledge your fault and how you've caused harm to someone else's life, I think you should really reflect and take accountability. That way, if the person that you did harm comes forward years later, months later, even the next day, you will then traumatize them all over again by denying their experience. There's no such thing as denying someone's experience because you're not them. You don't know how they felt in that moment. You don't understand their emotions or where they were at mentally. You have no clue. All you can do is just listen, apologize. Telling someone, oh, that didn't happen. It didn't happen. No, no. Is typically a sign of guilt, because if someone accused me of being mean to them, the first thing I would say is, wait, what? What happened? Like, what did I do? I'm not going to say, you lying. Why would I do that? Why would I say that? Maybe I did say it. Maybe I didn't. But the first part is acknowledging the person's feelings, right? It's understanding where they came from in that moment. I can't say that this person didn't feel like I called them fat. Oh, girl, you look good. You don't got to pull your stomach back. Just let it hang loose. You look good in the picture, right? We're taking a group picture, and I'm like, girl, you don't have to pull your stomach back. You look fine. Let it loose. Let it go. That person might have taken it that I called them fat. Even if I did it, even if I was encouraging them to like be themselves, which, by the way, happened in real life. I thought I was giving them a compliment, but they were battling with past bulimia. They had a lot of like self-image problems. So we were taking a group picture. She was very insecure about her stomach. In my mind, I'm like, she looks fine. I didn't know she had past battles with her weight and her image. So I was just like, girl, you look fine. Someone came back and was like, oh, she's crying. Like, you made her cry. And I'm like, I made her cry? Like, what did I, how? And it was like, you mentioned something about her stomach, da da da. And I'm like, oh, okay. So later on that day, I was on a backpacking trip in Thailand. It was like a 4 week backpacking trip where you backpack with strangers through this company. I pulled her to the side when everybody was like doing their own thing, and I said, "Hey, let me talk to you real quick." And I held her hand and I looked her directly in the eye, and I said, "I am so sorry. I did not mean to cause any harm. I did not mean to trigger you. I heard that you were crying earlier, and it was because of my comment that I made, and I did not mean it. I really want you to understand, I did not mean to make you feel that way. That was not my intentions, and I'm so, so sorry." She accepted the apology, and we hugged, and we moved on, and we had a blast for the rest of the trip. Now, if I was someone that said, girl, I don't know why you're crying, because it wasn't that deep, it wasn't that serious, I didn't mean it, da da da, I would have looked like the bad person. Even if I knew in that moment where I would be defensive, I knew that I still was wrong, because at the end of the day, she was still hurt. The damage was done, right? I still caused someone to feel in pain and inadequate in that moment. I made a documentary about my life, and I made a documentary about my experience in foster care, and it's on this channel. I think it's the first video on this channel. And it did pretty well. My foster mother seen it, and she wrote me a pretty not so nice text message. Mind you, we haven't spoken in years. I probably seen her like maybe once or twice since I was in her custody. And it was because I was getting my hair done by her daughter, and her daughter was living with her, and she came in the house and I just said hi. We didn't have a relationship like after I left out of foster care. If you watch my documentary, you understand why. And she's like, "Why didn't you tell the full story? Why you paying me to be this person? Da 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 da. Tell them why I choked you. You choked a minor. I had to file a 51A on her because she literally choked me up." But she excused it. She didn't apologize. Even then, she didn't say, "You know what? I seen the documentary and it hurts to know that that's how you feel, how I treated you. In no way did I want to make you feel that way while you were in my custody as a foster parent, but I'm so sorry that I made you feel this way while you were in my custody." I did not hear any of that. It was just more like, "Tell them why, tell them about your family member that does drugs. Tell them about your family member that da 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 da." I'm like, I don't have to do that because the whole point of my documentary was my experience with you. The whole experience of me being a ward of the state and how traumatic it was, and how having a mother on drugs and have my dad da, da, da. I text her and I said, "You still haven't changed. You're still the bitter, nasty lady that was my foster mother when I was between the ages of 12 and 16. And I'm grown now." And I was in my late 20s when I made the documentary. And it took me, I think, 2 years to make because I kept taking breaks because it was so traumatic to like to recap everything that I've been through while under her care. So looking back at people that just simply refuse to be held accountable for their actions towards what they do to others will never sit right with me, because people like that never learn. They never learn that it's not about you, it's about the experience that someone had with you, right? Regardless if it was intentional or not. A lot of the times, it's intentional. Abuse is intentional. Whether you're going through something or not, it's intentional. To get upset or angry or mad when the likes of Cassie or any type of SA victim comes forward that has been abused, isolated, and harmed, and you have people victim blaming people like Cassie, especially in the Diddy case. Yeah, seeing those comments, it really just took me back. It took me back because when my virginity was stolen and I was violated while I was in foster care, not in the under the same roof, someone violated me while I was under the care. When I came home late, she thought I was just hanging out, and I told her, I was like, "No, I was robbed at gunpoint. My virginity was robbed." That was the real truth. And I knew I couldn't tell her, my foster mother at the time, because she probably would accuse me of being fast. You already know how it goes. Not just in the black community, but I'm speaking from the black community perspective. Any young girl that gets violated, sometimes a lot of adults look at her as being the one that provoked the adult to do what they do to the child. I don't know if I can tell her this. So let me just make up a lie and say that I was held up at gunpoint at the train station. And we went to the police station, filed a report, and she said, "I don't believe you. I don't believe you." And she took my cell phone away, which my dad paid the phone bill for. And still to this day, I don't even know if she knows that, but I have to live with that, that I couldn't even be honest about my virginity being stolen from me by a grown man, by the way, who I think I still remember his name. I think it was Jaleel. He was Puerto Rican from New York. He was older. He was like at least in his mid 30s or not late 30s. He had a daughter. Don't know where he's at today. Don't. I hope the worst for him. And I hope no one else has been violated since. I was like 16. I know what it feels like to have someone deny your experience with them. I know what it feels like to have other people dogpile on you because they believe that person over you. I know what it feels like to keep secrets to your chest because you don't want to relive that again, that feeling of not being understood, where you're shouting into a void of emptiness, where people are listening, but not listening to understand, but listen to judge and critique and spot holes in your story. For those that feel afraid of telling their story, whatever that looks like, not everyone is sexually assaulted or raped or any of this, but they might have experienced abuse. They might have been drugged. They might have been robbed. Getting robbed is traumatic as hell. If you feel brave enough to come out and tell your story, what I will say is just take caution of who you tell it to and what platform you tell it on. Because platforms like Twitter, even YouTube sometimes, the comments can be very, very nasty. But we live in a victim blaming culture where, regardless of what your side of the story is, if someone doesn't like you, it doesn't matter what you say, it doesn't matter what proof you have, they're just going to deny your experience. And if the other person that caused you harm is powerful in any form of way or any facet of financially powerful or in a good position, like at your job, like your manager, or even your parents, anyone that society deems to be good people, like church going folks, because my foster mother was in church, a lot. So I remember even saying in my documentary, I think I was like, I didn't even feel comfortable telling the church. I didn't even feel safe in church. It rings down to why also I'm an atheist, because a lot of times I've just sat back and I'm like, I know my experience is real. I know what I've been through. You know your experience. You know your experience was real and you know what you went through. You were there, right? And the other person that victimized you, that denies your experience with them, and parents do this a lot, deny your experience with them because parents are like, well, I provided a roof over your head, I gave you food, I gave you clothes on your back, da, 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 da. A lot of the times those type of parents will throw in your face like, oh, well, I did this for you, so I don't understand why you're even complaining about me doing this one time to you, even though it scarred you for life. I don't understand why you complain about that when I did all this for you. Why are you complaining about this one little thing when I did all of this for you over here, even though that little thing exceeds all of that, because that one little thing wasn't a benefit to you. The bar is up here with all the things they claim they done for you, and then it shrinks down until it's that one time they socked you in the mouth because you questioned their parenting. He's a good man. He would never look at a little girl. You just trying to take my man. I've heard that. Mm-hmm. The male centered woman that chooses a man over her own child or children, or the children that she has in custody that aren't hers. Yeah, I know about those type of women. Victim blaming is one of the worst feelings ever, because it's like, I didn't do anything to deserve this, but society says that I did because they either don't like me, they don't like my race, they don't like women, they don't like children, regardless of what it is. The victim blaming situation of she knew what she was wearing, or why would she go over there, we've all heard it. The Bill Cosby trial, R. Kelly trial, P. Diddy trial. Like, we've heard all of the excuses that people put when it comes to victim blaming. You think victims are going to now want to come out and share their stories when they see other victims being hushed? Even if they did say anything right when it happened, you still wouldn't believe them. Typically, people sit on it for a little while until they feel brave, but people that are really brave, that come out and say something immediately when something happens to them, I applaud you. That takes guts. Being violated and then going to the police, or getting a rape kit done on you right after the act happened, it takes so much bravery that people would never understand unless it happened to them. The shame of it, the guilt of it, even though the shame is not on you, the honest is not on you. It's on the person that violates you, but they took something so you feel like they have something walking around, a piece of you, right? I'm not going to say soul because I'm not religious, but they have a piece of you, an eternal experience of yours. For those that feel like their stories are being invalidated by a parent or a teacher or your boss, even, tell your story. Tell your story. Make them feel the shame and make them feel uncomfortable. Make them feel like they're being judged. Make them feel like they have internal eyes facing them. Make sure that they don't feel like they can get away with doing that to another person, regardless of what it is. But you could share your story in all forms of ways. You could share your story even in a journal. Write it in a journal, and if you feel like you want to share it, take a screenshot of it and post it. And monitor the comments, approve the comments before they get posted, even. For those that didn't like being the villain in someone's story, fix it. Apologize. If the victim feels like they want to be near you, of course, say, hey, I'm so sorry that I played this part in your story because I don't want to continue being that character in someone else's story. I want to be a different character. I need to understand why I decide to play the antagonist in your story. That person needs to do some deep digging, and I hope that people like that are aware and feel something, what are you going to do with that information now that you know the person shared their experience with you or with others? I'm sorry to those that are gaslit by those that cause them harm and telling them that, you know, and saying that your experience was not real. It sucks. that's been on my mind for a while. So I just want to talk about that. And I'm hoping nothing but peace and love to those that are recovering from any form of trauma. But what matters is you know what happened. So let them deal with their own bad ways and you deal with your good ways, okay? So in the meantime, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.